Okay, so we began last week looking at a pair of Psalms that are focused on home life or family life. And we talked about how God and His Word should be the center of our homes, right? And they should be what we build the foundation of our families and our homes on, right? So if we don't, what do we talk about? If we don't build it on God and His Word, our houses, our families will come tumbling down. We talked about building on the rock and the sand last week, didn't we?
My mother did the same thing.
So, no matter what you do, whether you try to build your house, your family, your life, if you try to build it with your career, your money, your good looks, that's what I tried that. I didn't get very far.
Succeeded. Right.
What? Oh, well. Thank you, Debbie. You're my new best friend.
I'm trying.
What happened is when I gave birth, all my good looks drained out to Carolyn.
See what you did?
See why I look so ugly now?
You are ugly.
Passed on to my 3 kids.
Yeah, you're really drained. You did a triple whammy there, right? But you can't, like we looked at those two families, one built it on appearance and money, and their family came tumbling down, and the other family built it on religious rules. You can't build your life on religious rules either.
That's what
she said.
What?
Am I just repeating what you're saying?
Yes, you are.
My way of trying to hear.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay, so let's start where we left off in Psalm 127, verses 3 through 5. Behold, children are a heritage from the Lord. The fruit of the womb is a reward. Like arrows in the hand of a warrior, so are the children of one's youth. Happy is the man who has his quiver full of them. They shall not be ashamed, but shall speak with their enemies in the gate. So our psalm writer, he begins with the word behold to catch our attention.
What does 5 mean? Who happy is the man who has
Has a quiver.
Happy is the man who has his quiver full of them.
We'll get to that.
Full of what?
Children. But we'll get to that. I'll get to it.
A quiver. Oh, like quill?
No, quiver's an arrow holder, but we'll get to that. I'll show you a picture in a few minutes.
She's getting smart to come ahead.
Yeah, she's getting ahead of us, huh? See, that's usually Claudia's. Claudia's usually way ahead of us too. So the psalmist wants us to behold or listen up. Listen up, people. Listen up as he teaches us what our proper attitude towards children should be.
Beat 'em.
Sometimes we don't have proper attitudes.
Sometimes.
Especially when you're a school teacher, right?
Especially when they know how to push your button.
Yep, kids know how to do that, mommies or teachers, right?
Yeah.
We need to get some more pins for our holder. We've been ripping through them. So y'all listening up? I know. I was giving her a moment to catch up.
I think if we apply that towards our children, our society today, I think our children have lost that place of being cherished.
And that's what I'm going to talk about. You're getting way ahead.
Yeah.
There you go, Claudia.
She took after her.
See? So we got it? Okay.
It's her fault.
She passed it on.
Me? Go ahead. I got broad shoulders.
Okay. The psalmist tells us that children are a heritage or gift, depending on your translation of your Bible, a reward, and an arrow from the Lord. Three different descriptions is what the psalmist is telling him. We're going to discuss what those mean. This is your exercise, your finger exercise night. So the original Hebrew word for heritage or gift means property, possession, or that which is assigned or shared. So think about that.
What was the last thing you said about being shared?
Shared, they are shared, and I'll tell you in the next fill in the blank.
Oh, okay.
So children belong to God. They're his property.
Oh, we're sharing with him?
There you
Uh-huh.
go, that sounds a whole lot better.
And he graciously assigns to or shares them with parents or us.
God bless him.
He gives us these kids to see what we're gonna do.
See, now there's that proper attitude. That's what we're talking about. Linda will be our example tonight.
I should say that.
My kid real good to me.
Yeah, yeah. He gives them to us as a reward, a blessing, a gift, our inheritance. He's sharing them with us. They're his, but we're responsible to do well with them.
No, I'm not responsible for mine. No way.
Well, you were to a certain degree.
You grow them. After they're grown, we're not responsible.
Yeah, you're once they're grown up, they're on their own. So God is giving us walls to build on our foundation we laid in him, right? So we started with him, we have a relationship with him, and we building our life on him and his word. But now he's going to build our family, our home, with these new walls called children.
Can you go back one page just real quick, please?
Children.
Children are walls. That's how we build our home, right?
Move on to-
So we've talked about this before.
Sure.
You got it?
Sure.
Bob, your husband Bob is
Go.
coming.
Uh-oh.
What is that?
He tracked you down.
Assigns.
Sign?
Assign.
Oh, it's on,
Okay. So there's no such thing as an accidental birth or surprise pregnancy. We talked about that when we studied Psalm 139, right? So he creates each unique child in the womb for us. It's his gift that he gives us. And so as that, if we truly understood that and appreciated that they're a gift to us and that they're his property, we would appreciate them more and maybe treat them better. I'm not saying that you guys didn't. What I'm saying is, you see in society, there's a problem with the way children are treated because people don't understand that that was a gift given to them.
It always has been.
It always has been, yeah, yeah. So, and the
Why did
reward,
God give us the responsibility of the kids? He didn't give them to man, not the woman.
well, it's both. Parents,
Okay, we're whoa, man. But they could have given them to the man so that they could go, whoa.
well, that's an interesting definition.
Right now, if Mel was supposed to have babies, what would they be?
Well,
Well.
God gave them to both of us.
They don't know what they do.
Because male has the responsibility.
No, men are wimps.
So, they've
Big
got
time.
it big time.
Yeah.
No.
Because they're held accountable before God with what they did with their family and what we're held accountable what we did with our gift.
They
Right?
sure don't step up like they're supposed to, do they?
Not all men.
Not all men are bad.
I wouldn't call them thin.
Some do.
I wouldn't, it's hard to find a real man in this world.
There are good men
We've
and
got lots of good men,
Yeah.
for sure. We've got
Yep.
precious.
Yes, there are.
okay. So reward, which is what he called them in this psalm, conveys the idea of pleasure, something given as tangible proof of appreciation. So if he gives you the reward of a child, he's showing his appreciation to you.
Pleasure.
We don't think about it that way, do we? He's giving you a reward.
I did.
Did you?
Yes, because
Good.
we had to start adoption,
Mhm.
and then, because they didn't think I'd ever get pregnant, and then we were gifted with David.
So you appreciated it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stories.
And then we got the child.
Yeah. I see that was Terry and I, we didn't think we could have children there for a while because we spent 4.5 years trying and we didn't think it was going to happen and God blessed us with a child. Little Miss Carolyn came along.
We were watching this docu movie yesterday, I guess it was, called Twins, and it's about these conjoined twins that are conjoined at the skull, at the brain, and they're bringing the scissors together so they can never be separated. These little girls, they're 6 or 7 now, just are amazing, and they've got like 2 children before these girls and another younger one after them. I said to my dad, I think I would have stopped after having conjoined twins.
You'd be afraid, huh?
I'd be afraid to have another one, but they have another one, and these girls run and they play and it's just amazing.
Yeah.
You just wouldn't think they would ever have a life.
And they were trusted with that responsibility to have those
and
children.
their parents are so good to them, and
That's
you
good.
have to take them to all these appointments.
Yeah, special medical care.
Uh-huh. It's a really interesting movie if anyone has a chance to
Which
see
movie?
it.
I just.
It's called Twins,
Okay.
and it's kind of a docu-movie, I guess.
So children are a token of God's love, His choice of reward to us. So did you notice that children were called fruit of the womb and arrows in that verses 3 and 4, right? Kind of unique terms, right? But both of those are useful items in our life when you think about fruit and arrows. Let's read that again. It says, "Behold, the children are a heritage from the Lord. The fruit of the womb is a reward, and like arrows in the hand of a warrior, so are the children of one's youth." Fruit is given to nourish us, right? And add a little sweetness. Doesn't fruit add a little sweetness? Arrows help us fight our battles in life.
Are you going to nourish us?
Right.
No, I know.
Oh, okay.
So my dad's going to eat back right now.
Missed something here.
Fruit is used to nourish.
I mean, these words are used to help us understand a little more. You just kind of, you've got to think about it a little bit, think about it a little differently.
Sweetness.
I'm kind of curious about arrows help us fight our battles.
I'll get there.
Oh,
Don't get rushing.
go for it.
I'm just trying to egg you on here.
Okay.
So, both fruit and arrows help to bridge us to the future. And I'll explain that. Okay, so you see, fruit helps keep us alive, right? And it provides seeds for the next generation of fruit, right? So it passes us on to the future. Arrows help to protect us from the enemy, which allows people to live in the future, right? If you get killed off by the enemy, you'll never make it into the future. So, but along with the fruit's nutritional value, it adds that sweetness to life, is what I was talking about too. And so I wanted to say, don't children add sweetness to your life?
They do.
Sometimes we'll say, right?
95%.
Pardon?
95%.
95% of the time, right. But they do. They add a real blessing, a sweetness to their life, little things that we enjoy. You know, like this one.
Oh, I love my kids did that. I got big grandkids.
Doesn't that laugh make you feel good?
Oh,
Is that Zane?
Yeah, that was a few months ago.
oh my God.
I know, there's nothing like a child.
I mean, the laughter just cheers you up usually when you sit there and listen to them. That's that little bit of sweetness in your life when you get to enjoy them, right? And he has a lot of energy. So do you remember what Sarah said when Isaac was born? Not before he was born, but after he was born. She said, Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born. And Sarah said, "God has made me laugh. Everyone who hears me about this will laugh with me. No one thought that I would be able to have Abraham's child, but I have given Abraham a son while he is old." So she felt great joy at her age having a baby finally after all those years of being barren, and she was overjoyed. Children bring joy into our life.
100 years old back then wasn't very old.
That was still past childbearing years for her, because this was after people were only living about 100, 120 at the most. So to be 90 and have a baby, that's pretty old.
Isaac means laughter, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. So they even named him that. But So now for Abraham and Sarah, it was really a bridge to their future. It was great joy. It was building the walls of the new foundation they had with God, because, you know, they left home on God's command to go start a new life in a new land, and they didn't have any children. And so they were founding their life on the one true God, because when they were in the other land, their families all worshiped other gods. And now they started their new life with a foundation on God. And when they got to a certain place, God blessed them with their baby, right? That they could have to keep building their family into the future. And it would build the faith into the future. If Isaac hadn't come along, the faith wouldn't continue on, right? Yeah, no nation. It was very important that child come along, but it brought great joy to Sarah, just like our babies when they're born. So our little arrows need to be guided just as a warrior guides his arrow to his target in the battle. They may be cute and bring us laughs, but we still need to guide them.
Oh, our little arrows can be a thorn on our side.
Little arrows have their moments, but that's why we have to guide them, so they become less of a thorn in the side, right?
Signage,
That's a good play on words, though.
big broad signage.
So look at what Psalm 51:5 says. Behold, I was brought forth in iniquity, and in sin my brother conceived me. So how are we all born?
I'm not talking smart.
In sin. We have a sinful nature. With the hints, your little arrows need guided, right? Psalm 58:3, the wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they are born, speaking lies. That's rough. That's rough. But, you know, some kids are more trouble right from the beginning than other kids, right? The sin nature can kick in faster, it seems like sometimes, but we're all born with it, so we need guidance. Proverbs 22:15. Foolishness is bound up in the heart of a child. The rod of correction will drive it far from him. So we're instructed to discipline our children because of the sin nature, because they do things wrong. They have to be taught. Children are born with a sinful nature, therefore they need our guidance and training. It's like, you know, this is how you're attaching your walls to the foundation, right? This is how you're securing your children to the foundation you're building. You've got to train them. So just like we have a tendency to sin, children are going to have a tendency to sin and make wrong choices and get hurt. So children need parental authority, and that's kind of sorely lacking in our modern society. There's a lot of homes that don't have parental authority going on anymore.
I used to tell my kids when they hit about 2 or 3 and they started all the testing, your sinful nature is starting to show. You're so cute when you can't move and out of your spot.
Right.
Once you start crawling, it's on.
Yeah, it's all the tendencies start popping out, right?
My oldest one didn't cross,
But-
she started with Brandon.
Oh. But we can't be our kids' best friend.
No.
When you're raising them, they need you to be their parent. They need you to discipline them, correct them, teach them what's right. You're their protection from harm. So if you just want to be too busy giving them toys and giving them whatever they want all the time, they're never going to learn. So we have to teach them. We have to give them discipline. What does Proverbs 29:15 say? The rod and rebuke give wisdom, but a child left to himself brings shame to his mother. Now that doesn't say we reward them or give them a lecture, sit them in a corner, or ignore them because it's just a phase.
Right.
You hear that one, oh, they're just going through a phase. No. No. It says a rod and a rebuke. A rod and rebuke, or physical discipline and verbal correction, are good for children, otherwise they will end up bringing shame. A lot of people won't spank anymore, but the Bible doesn't say that.
Spare the rod and spoil the child.
Exactly, that's where that saying came from. they need discipline sometimes. Now, some kids you can correct, you know, you can give them a correction and they take it just fine. Other kids, nope, they need the stronger discipline, and that's the way their personality works.
Thank you, but.
Nope. So what does Proverbs 22:6 say? Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it.
Doesn't say how old.
Yeah, I know. That's true, because you just don't
You can hang on
know.
to that when they go sideways, you can hang on that they're gonna come back, right?
Yeah, that's your
I
prayer.
definitely have.
That's why you gotta keep praying for them. And if you do raise them right, many of the time they do come back to it. Sometimes it can be 30 years later, but they do come back to it. I'm gonna pick on my son. He went through a spell of misbehavior, like many boys do. And we had raised him, you know.
Girls.
Huh?
Oh, yeah, there you go.
What?
Girls do too.
Yeah, girls do too. That's true. But, you know, he got off track for a while. But once he finally got it figured out, thankfully for us, it didn't take 30 years. You know, it took, I don't know, 3 years or whatever before he was more back on track. And he appreciated all that we had taught him and disciplined him. He came back to it in his head. He knew in his heart that that was good. So it's nice when they do come back, but sometimes you gotta be real patient. It may take mega years before the kids come back. But start them out right. Do your responsibility when they're young and train them in God's ways and train them in what's right and just pray for them. That's all you can do. It's up to them once they get to a certain age what they do with what you gave them, but at least you fulfilled your responsibility. So don't just let them grow up in whatever way you think is okay, that they want to grow up. Parents must train children in the way they should go.
Today, my son and I were talking, and his friend graduated from law school this last week, and Robert's just a year away from it. And he said, you know, his dad had a real problem with drugs and alcohol and everything was rarely there. He said, but his mom was always there and steady with him, just like you and Miss Debbie.
Aww, how sweet. What a good testimony.
Yeah, she did teach him to eat ketchup on his quesadilla.
See? You never know until, you know,
But
God,
that was so sweet, because he was like.
that was a good thing.
Not like you and Debbie.
It's nice to hear that. I know when Gregory wrote us a letter and told us, you know, about everything, and I was like, it's good to hear that from the kids, that they grow up and understand and they appreciate what you did for them. It's nice to hear it from them. So we must secure the walls or our children firmly to the foundation we laid in Jesus, or they will fall down. Now, for example, I've seen people get married and they're from two entirely different religious backgrounds, or they're uncommitted to God or their particular faith, and they make the decision literally to let the kid decide on their own. They give the kid no religious training. They don't take them to either of their churches. They just hope that they somehow figure it out. And majority of the time, that does not work. Most of the time, the kid never comes to know God, doesn't have that inclination. Why? Sinful nature. And they want to live their life. So it's up to us to give them that training and that knowledge. And sure, they are going to make their own decision at some point, but you've done your part. You can't leave it up to them to decide. Now, my husband, he was kind of the opposite case. He actually had parents that had their faith, but they didn't really raise him in any particular way, which was, you know, usually a bad thing, you know. But for him, God had his hand on him from early on. His mom, not that she had picked it out for any particular reason, sent him to a Southern Baptist kindergarten school, you know, a school. And that's where he came to know about God. And that was just a fortunate accident, so to speak. That was just God's hand. Yeah.
So it's not an accident.
But it's accident on her part, because she didn't know what she was doing per se, that would lead to his future, that he would come to know the Lord through that experience. So it is always better to raise them with knowledge, with faith, with the Word, and they'll come back to it. But anyway, let's read Ephesians 6:4. And you fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath, but bring them up in the training and admonition of the Lord. So see, the fathers have a big responsibility in this as well. Moms and fathers need to take care of training the kids. That falls on their heads if the fathers aren't raising their kids the right way. So we need to it's emphasizing raising them in the ways of God. The most important thing we train our children in is the ways of God based on the Bible. It's the only place you get that information is the Bible. And the use of the words the way, is speaking about the path of wisdom that's mentioned all throughout the Proverbs. It's just, you see it over and over again. The Proverbs are a good place to get a lot of lessons on life and how to live, and a good thing to teach your kids. Proverbs 4:1-7 says, "Hear, my children, the instructions of a father, and give attention to know understanding. For I give you good doctrine. Do not forsake my law. When I was my father's son, tender and the only one in the sight of my mother, he also taught me and said to me, let your heart retain my words, keep my commands and live. Get wisdom, get understanding, do not forget, nor turn away from the words of my mouth. Do not forsake her, and she will preserve you. Love her, and she will keep you. Wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, and in all you're getting, get understanding." So the parents of this proverb writer taught that child wisdom, doctrine, God's commands, and obedience to them. They gave that child that lesson. And if you notice in that the thing is, you can't trust, don't give that over to the church, the school, to strangers. It starts with the parents. It didn't mention any of those things. That responsibility starts with the parents, are the ones that are supposed to train the child in the ways of God, to train them and give them wisdom. You can't send your kids to school and hope for it, especially nowadays. You can't at all, right?
No, not at all.
They
No.
have another agenda of training
Yeah,
kids.
exactly.
If you don't do your part.
Right, exactly. And you gotta spend as much time teaching them as the schools are, because you need to counterbalance some of the things that are getting taught, unfortunately, in many schools. Not everybody's we've been pretty fortunate in Kalinga. We've had a lot of Christian teachers in our school system, which has helped a lot. But unfortunately, the state always has their say in things as well. So parents are the first ones with this responsibility to teach their child about God, His wisdom and His ways, just like that Proverbs writer experienced. It was his parents that God gave him all that. That's who God holds responsible for teaching the kids. These verses also teach us that God's wisdom and ways will help to preserve our children's lives.
Back it up once, just real quick.
This one?
Yes.
Sorry.
That was a long word we had to spell out.
Oh, responsibility. It's your responsibility.
Uh-huh.
Got it?
Yes.
Okay, so God's wisdom and ways will preserve our children's lives, is what Proverbs 4:6 said. Teaching them God's wisdom is like
Preserve, not preserve.
is like teaching them not to put their hands on a burning stove. That's when you're teaching God's wisdom, you're protecting them. You're helping them to have a future and have preserve their life, keep them out of trouble.
I remember when my granddaughter was little, before she was, just still a baby, kind of. My daughter said, I'm never going to spank her. That's my decision. And I said, okay, I'm going to teach her consequences. Well, a couple years later, she was like, I'm rethinking that.
Oh. Spare the rod.
I might have been wrong.
Yeah.
She still doesn't need a lot of that,
Yeah.
But there's times.
Sometimes there is. Because that's, harsh punishments or strong punishments deter future problems because you say, I don't want to experience that again. Right? I mean, that's what's wrong with our prison system and judicial system. We have too many people not getting justice.
At this point.
They're not punished, and so then,
Yeah, the government will do it for you later.
yeah, but they don't do a good job.
No, well, what I mean is you'll end up in jail.
Yeah, you'll end up in jail,
That'll
but
be what will happen if you never learned.
that's what this verse is saying, preserves your children's lives. What you teach them now will help them later.
Well, and you look at remember they came out with that book, The Greatest Generation, the ones who fought in World War II?
Mhm.
Boy, they were beat like, man, nobody's business. Nobody wanted to go out behind the woodshed.
No, right.
But they were sturdy enough after that. They fought a war at 18, 19.
And they were young. I mean, they had young kids going in that were lying about their age.
19, yeah.
Some of them were 17
Yeah.
and young.
But they knew how to conduct themselves.
They knew how to handle life.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had the moral standing too,
Yeah,
so.
you're not doing them any favor. They've got enough friends.
Yeah, exactly. As I say, as a parent, we can't be their best friends when they're little because you gotta teach them. So let's reread verse 5 of Psalm 127. Happy is a man who has his quiver full of them. See the picture of that quiver? That's a quiver. That's like an average. They're usually some tubular shaped device that's got the arrows in them. They shall not be ashamed, but shall speak with their enemies in the gate. So warriors and hunters who carried a quiver, on their back or on their shoulder, it was full of arrows, and it indicates that they were ready for battle. They were prepared for what was coming ahead. So if you have children, like a lot of them, they're ready to go in your head, in your quiver, so to speak, like the arrows. You're ready for what lies ahead because you have your children with you. The term quiver full conveys the idea of protection and security. I'll give you a simple example of that. It also said children born in one's youth. So when you're young, you should have a lot of kids, is what it's saying, a quiver full. And we're going to talk more about that next week, about something interesting about that. But this is an indication having a good number of kids when you're young, because it says when you're in your youth, have your kids. And they'll be like preparing you for battle, for what lies ahead in your life. Your children, having children on your side, so to speak, and will help you in the future. And that's why I always have this advice for young people: have lots of kids so you don't have to have a retirement plan. Somebody will take care of you. That's the goal. That at least one of the kids might take you in. So,
I suggest you have a retirement plan.
No, we're supposed to take care of our parents.
Yeah.
So, but but that's kind of what this is saying. If you have a lot of children, they'll be there for you in the future. Somebody will. There's bound to be at least one.
Right. There's 20, there's gotta be one.
You're counting on Gabby?
Counting on Gabby,
Oh,
yeah.
poor Gabby. She's already going to take care of her grandpa.
I went first, did. Oh, you got. I suggested first. So.
Well, you're after her grandpa because her grandpa's first. So.
Her grandpa has Rosie.
No. Oh, well, there's one other child. Yes, that's true. But anyway, that's what's saying. Happy is a man who has his quiver full of them. He's blessed, one, he's been given all those gifts from God, those children. But he's also blessed because it prepares him for the future. It prepares him for life. Because he's got children to help him and to be with him as he gets older. We all need help when we get older. I'm like right there right now. So, Carol.
Right now.
She's like, are you stepping up?
Are you stepping up, girl?
I think she's so busy taking care of.
Hold on, I've got a contract here for you to sign.
Read the fine print, don't forget the fine print.
Yeah. give me-
I forgot put that in there. Oh my gosh, I got my own laugh track. I totally forgot about that. See, I'm getting old. I forgot I put my laugh track in there. I've lost it. I don't know. Maybe I should just have some more children if Carolyn won't sign the contract now.
Think again, you don't want to do that.
Right, think about that.
Yeah, maybe not. I'll talk to Susan about it, see how she feels, right?
I'm sure she will advise you against.
Against it, yeah. I've been up all night. So back to verse 5, at the end it says, but your children shall speak with their enemies in the gate. So the gate of an ancient city was a place of justice and business, and we saw that in our study of Ruth.
Not the children speak. The man.
No, it's when
The man
they,
who has quivers will be able to speak with enemies in the gate.
no, actually in the commentaries it's referring to the children when they get older. It's the future tense.
Really? I've never-
Yeah, that's the way I studied it. So
Well, you studied it deeper than I did.
I could be wrong, because you saw I put a laugh track in and I didn't remember, so.
When you're talking about the man initially.
Right,
that's
but for some
the
reason,
story.
the commentators said that, but anyway. So when we talked about Ruth, that's where Boaz did business with
Right.
the relative, right, at the city gate. That's where it was always done. So this verse is telling us that when we raise our children with God's wisdom and ways, they will grow up and have an influence in their communities. They will be able to be at the city gates because we raised them well, because we gave them godly wisdom, and helped them to grow up and mature in the Lord.
The Amplified says, happy, blessed, and fortunate is the man whose quiver is filled with them. They shall not be put to shame when they speak with their adversaries in gatherings at the city's gate.
See,
So what that says to me is, if your kids aren't out messing around, bringing you shame,
mhm.
then you have them to brag as a bragging.
Well, this was one of
People
the,
will respect you.
Right,
There's a
that's what
lot
I've
of,
always,
there's a lot of,
from that verse.
in here about the requirements for being deacons and leaders and stuff, and your family should
Right.
be under control.
right.
And the husband should be taken.
And I don't know why, but this was
He should love you
this,
as Christ loved the church, and Christ gave his life for it. And I've reminded Bob that.
That's right. You heard her.
glad Bob doesn't work.
all I can say is
He
that
goes like this.
one of the big name commentators quotes it the other way, and maybe it's in the language, the original language, I don't know. I'd have to go back and look,
What
but
other
Do you
way?
know?
that it's the children will be an influence when they get to the age where they hang out at the gate. They'll be able to hang out at the gate because they're living a good life, a godly life.
Well, they give you cred if you got somebody telling you how to do it, and their kids are acting like some screwballs. You're not going to take anything they say you're not going to have any respect for them.
Right, oh, I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying,
That's just what
it's the
Amplified
reverse
says.
explanation. It's the children that are the ones now influencing the community once they grow up. They're your step into the future, because they're going to take care of your community and they'll have an influence in it because you raised them in a godly way.
Yeah.
Do you know which commentator?
I'd have to go back and look, but it's one of
Yeah.
the. It was one of the main
Tell us
guys
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Yeah, I would like to know, because usually
Like always.
the Amplified's pretty spot on about stuff. Because I just think it gives you bragging rights.
I can see that.
You did such a good job so people listen to you.
Right, and I could see that being true too.
So don't listen to me. No.
So I don't know. It could have been one of those days where I was having not a very lucid moment too. I come and go, in and out, I'm in need of a lot of help, but Carolyn's not
She's not
not
catching
committing.
up.
She's not committing.
Run, Carolyn. Get in that car and gun it. Get out.
So just looking at it from the standpoints of the kid, because that's where I was going from, when your kids are raised right and they grow up to be godly adults that are influencing your community for the better, your nation's better off, your city's better off,
I think
right?
they're
Your
saying
community's,
basically the same thing.
In a way, yeah, but you know, what do we see happening now with our kids who have not, a lot of them, raised right? Their education at the colleges is teaching them all the wrong things when they're still impressionable, so to speak. And now they're not honoring us in the city gates. They're actually bringing shame to our nation, to our colleges, to our cities, because they're not living with godly ways. They're even, what do you call it, cohorting with the enemy. They're consorting with the enemy. And that's not where you want your nation to be either. So it's important to raise them right.
Some of those kids that are out there standing there whining because somebody didn't bring them vegetarian meals and water, right? That parent should be up there with the cane getting them home.
Oh, yeah.
Cut out their allowance and get them home.
Right.
Shame on them.
It's so important what how the kids are brought up.
Yeah,
Because that is why the evil goes to the schools. When it's going to the schools to teach the kids wrong, that's just a generation away, and that's a blink of an eye.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So if we as Christian parents or Christian parents of young children aren't doing their job, it's gonna be gone. You know, any kind of Christian influence.
It's whittling away.
The Bible says it only takes one generation.
Yeah.
They've forgotten that.
Well, you know, when I was younger and you would,
These guys are all freezing and they're like, how are you hot?
you know, it's when I was younger and I'd read the tribulation section of Revelation and you see the parents turning into kids. I mean, even, and Jesus prophesied about it in Matthew and stuff too. You'd say, how could kids turn in parents, you know, to the Antichrist people? And it's like, now you could see it, couldn't you?
It's easier to imagine.
It's easier to see it happening now because of the state of mind a lot of the youth are in, and you can see it just keep progressing as time goes by. So we've got to do, you know, as much as we can to influence the kids we know, you know, to witness to them and teach them. Huh?
The enemy is recruiting our children.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where you get, and that's always been the philosophy throughout time. You get the kids, and that's how you change nations and philosophies in the world. So enjoy your gift of walls from God and train them in the way they should go, so they are secure on your foundation that you're building, right, with Jesus. And we can be, even if we don't have kids at home anymore, we can help the kids here at church and the kids we meet. There's a lot of kids that come from broken homes and troubled homes. They need that guidance even from us. Even though we're not with them 24 hours a day, we can still do the best we can. So next week we'll continue on with our discussion of the home life with Psalm 128. Okay? All right. Thank you, ladies.